Okay, thank you so much, Maree, for joining me today and sharing some of your tips around health and wellness. So Maree has the Nourishing Life and is a nutritionist. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's great to
be here.
Yeah, it's so lovely to be able to share your knowledge with everyone. So maybe let's start with sharing some information about you, maybe things you like to do in your free time or something we don't know about you or people won't know about you.
Well, I am a mum of two girls. They're two little girls, 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. You can hear them in the background at the moment yelling and screaming at each other. Luckily my husband's home today. Something I guess you probably may or may not know. I have actually said it before, but I've gone back to uni for the 4th time in my life. I am still studying in nutrition. I'm doing a postgraduate degree in human nutrition at the moment, which I feel like it might be the wrong time to start it while everything's going on right now. I've got quite a load with having to work from home and having the kids at home, and but it's something that I really enjoy doing, so I'm pretty excited to be university again.
And it's all online, is it, as well?
Yeah, luckily so this one perfect. Is
yeah.
Thank goodness. I mean, all of the university degrees have gone online at the moment anyway, so I was just lucky that this one was, so I can sort of fit it in with what I'm already doing clinically anyway. So and it's all relevant, obviously. Before I was a nutritionist, though, I was a primary school teacher, which I still think fits into what I do anyway, because a lot of what I do is education I try and educate adults on how to eat well and live a well-rounded life, and because I think we are the best role models for the generation below us coming up, and so I use my education degree still, even though I am a nutritionist now.
No, I love that. And that was one of the things I think that I was hoping you'd touch on, that is something that people probably didn't know about you. And I know just from our conversation online is then working out that you taught at a school with a friend of mine who was a PE teacher as well. So yes, small world, isn't it, when you find out those other facts about people. Is there anything else that you like to do on the weekends that people might not know about?
On our weekends, we've laughed about this recently, because we've also obviously gone into isolation, and we sort of said to each other, my husband and I, it hasn't really changed our life on the weekends because our kids are so little and we've still got nap time. We don't do a lot on the weekends anymore. I think what we really enjoy is going for a walk around the river and getting a coffee together, and just really simple things at the moment. I love to try and get to a bit of yoga. I find that a very selfless act for myself. I feel like a better person when I've done those sorts of things, and exercise is really important to my well-being as well. So try and get out in the sunshine as much as possible over the weekend. But we are very homebodies at the moment.
So now you're just bringing back memories. Exactly, you're bringing back memories. I don't remember going to restaurants and cafes with 2 and a 4-year-old either. So it probably doesn't change a lot. So what about your mornings then? What do you need to do in your mornings to start your mornings well? It might have changed a little bit now, but what do you like to make sure that you've done every morning?
I actually haven't changed, luckily, because I've been a part of a boot camp. We call it Fit Camp. It's a less harsh term, I guess. Every morning at 6 o'clock, and I do that just down at South Barwon, McDonald's Reserve. It's a South Barwon football club there. And so that's every morning, as much as I possibly can go, or much as I possibly like to get up and go and do that. But my trainer's put it all online now, which is fantastic. And I've been supporting him with his training. And so I do a little nutrition component alongside that, which is really nice. But so that's been part of my week still. I get up, do exercise, and I feel like I've got a really good start to the day. And then my other non-negotiable is breakfast. So really wholesome breakfast every morning.
Have you got a favourite? What's your favourite breakfast?
Porridge. Absolutely porridge, hands down.
Yeah. Anything on top?
Fruit, nut butter. Yeah, I like my porridge with almond milk, because I find dairy milk in porridge far too creamy for myself. But I'll dress it up with nuts and all sorts of fruit, whatever we've got. Pears, frozen berries, banana.
Yeah, I've just moved off dairy. Probably, I think it's been since the start of the term, and started having almond milk. And I've really noticed a big difference. My gut's definitely liking it now. But I love porridge, especially going into winter too. It's such a great breakfast to start the day.
I feel like porridge hung around a lot last year. I normally only have it over winter, and it just sort of crept into summer, because we just never really had a nice hot day. I don't mind a smoothie over summer, but I never really got there. I've had a few, but not the.
Do you soak your oats then as well? What sort of oats do you recommend, or porridge do you recommend?
It depends on what type. Like if you're doing a hot one, I don't tend to bother soaking it. I just cook it up in the microwave or on the stove, depending on how much, like whether I'm cooking some for the kids or whatever. I'll cook it up on the stove because it won't explode in the microwave. It's a little bit easier to control. But if you're doing a soaked oats overnight, then it's probably a nice summer one, because it's nice and cool in the morning. And you've got it ready to go if you're sort of in a rush and you're needing something a bit more dense, heavy for the day. It's a good one to grab and go. If remember to put it in the fridge the night before. That's the key.
So maybe it's a good lead into your business and how it started, and tell us a bit about it.
Well, I guess when I was teaching, when I enjoyed teaching for the time I was teaching, but it wasn't fulfilling, and I was always wishing for the holidays to come around. So it's kind of wishing the year away. And I know, and like when I was a teacher, like if we didn't have holidays, we would be in a psychologist's office for the entire year round. It's a really hard job, but I just I would always get to the end of the day and think, I'm struggling here. I'm good at my job, but I'm emotionally struggling right now. So when I was for pretty much for as long as I can remember, I've been interested in nutrition and food and cooking. Never really knew how to translate that into a career when I left high school. It wasn't even something I thought of. It wasn't anything that the teachers said, this is an option. And so it took a long time to realize what I wanted to be when I grew up. It wasn't until I was about 27, 28 that I really realized it. I remember sitting at my desk after school one day, and I said, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to enroll in this course and I'll see what happens. And within a month I was enrolled, I was started, and then I fell pregnant. So that was a good start. But I kept going as much as I wanted to quit and give up, because it was really, really hard having a baby and trying to study. But it kept me going in those early couple of months with Olivia, my eldest. That was a pretty tough time emotionally again. But having the study there just as almost an outlet kept me going, which was really, I got really excited when I got to the end of subjects, and I was like, I'm one step closer to having my business, which was my dream when I first started it. And then once I finished the course, I had another baby and took some time off. Didn't study, didn't do anything except for just being a mum. And I was very ready to get started on the business. So I started building that up in June of 2018. Yes. When was Ruby born? 2018.
Yeah.
and started that up in August at the back of Live Eco. So Live Eco is owned by Erin and Heather, and Erin was one of my supervisors when I was studying. So yeah, that was really lovely to sort of be working alongside her again. Yeah. The whole reason I wanted to start my own business is to have flexibility, which is almost impossible as a small business owner.
Well, we think that's possible, don't you?
Totally
it's not true.
No, but I also I wanted to work on my I wanted to be my own boss and work to my own accord, and have my own policies, and because I've got trying to think of the words here. Where
like it's like your values as well,
values
isn't it?
is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. On your website, seeing like your values, it's quite strong about your, like I wrote it down. Health is a daily practice, not a 30-day diet, which I think is one of the things that I really attracted to your business in the first place, because I'm not a diet person and believe in diet. So I feel it's really strong in your website and your messaging on social media about your values when it comes to nutrition as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one thing that I try and get across as much as possible. Like it's a bit of a myth. Like there's just no one size fits all approach to nutrition whatsoever. There are things that work in those one size fits all, but then they do fall apart pretty quickly if you don't continue it, and they're often not very sustainable. Yeah, and that's what I'm all about, is making it sustainable, so it's lifelong, not just a couple of months.
So it's like that passion that drove you, the flexibility, and also being able to use your own values and do your own how you want the business to be run, or the actual job, really, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. The flexibility has definitely gone, but
it'll come back. I'm sure it will come back.
It's tricky trying to balance the kids at the moment with Olivia's in kinder, so I'm sort of I'm governed by the days that she's not there at the moment, obviously, but I'm governed by that a little bit at the moment. But I've got the ability to work on the weekends, which is really good for the clientele that I have as well, because I do have a lot of mums, and the weekends work well for them. So I find the same too,
that night and weekends work well, and it's like, actually that works well because my husband's around then too. So that's fine. I don't mind. So what about what do you love most then about your business? Or is there something that you've loved over the last sort of 2 years that's really stood out to you?
I get to just chat to people about nutrition all the time. Like that's my job. It's I love that I get to I get to go to work now. I look forward to those days when they're my work days. I'm like, woohoo, work day today. That's what I love about it. I get to do what I love all day. It's constantly on my mind. But I'm okay with that, because I've got to feed my kids, I've got to feed myself, I've got to feed my husband as well. I just try and make it work into my everyday life, because I write recipes as well for a health and fitness app, and that's sort of, I try and incorporate that into my life as well. Otherwise that would be a lot of work if I was doing that separately. So
that's great. That's a great so do you have then some tips around health and wellness that you'd like to share? Maybe it's around recipes or something like that.
Probably my biggest tip is that to keep your foods as whole and as close to nature as possible. So one of my lovely supervisors that I had, so not Erin, another one that I had, made a really good comment, and it stuck with me. She asked her client one day where the health food section was in the supermarket, and a lot of people will say it's the health food aisle, but it's not. It's on the outside. Right. It's in the fruit and veggie section. It's the meat section. So that's where you'll find all the health foods. So that's that would be my top tip, is trying to keep them as close to nature as possible, and that making your own food and being healthy and eating healthy, it doesn't have to be expensive either. That's just probably, reckon that's one of the biggest myths about eating healthy, is that it's expensive. It's not.
Yeah, definitely.
It can be really cost effective.
Agree. Yeah. And I don't know, 10 years ago when my daughter was born and she had a lot of allergies, and we changed our diet quite significantly. And back then we had to buy there wasn't that other health aisle in the supermarkets 10 years ago like there is now. And we did have to shop at a health food store for certain things. Like they didn't even really have gluten-free flour back then 10 years ago. So I've noticed now, since it's all introduced, I love Aldi's organic range that they have as well. It's a lot more affordable than it used to be. And it's actually not that much difference in price compared to your normal products. Some of them are actually the same price. So definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, you find that a lot of those alternatives at the moment are still available in the supermarket. Go and experiment with them.
You'd love this. The other day I was like, the chocolate aisle, I went down and I was like, you wouldn't believe there was no chocolate whatsoever last week in there apart from Greens organic. And I was like, oh, that was the one I wanted anyway. My husband's like, yeah, because it's the more expensive one. And I was like, I don't care. That's the one we wanted anyway. So, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good one.
So what about your product, your services then? What services do you offer?
So I consult privately. So obviously was face-to-face in my little studio that I have, that I rent. That I moved into this year on Packington Street. But I'm doing it face-to-face. Sorry, not face-to-face, online at the moment. So I consult with people with IBS symptoms, issues, those sorts of things around gut health, and help with weight management. But a lot of people that present with sort of weight management as their goal have a lot of underlying health concerns as well. So whether it be mental health or even chronic conditions like heart disease or diabetes, those sorts of things. So I consult with a lot of people around that. And then I also have my meal planners that I release monthly. So the April one will come out soon. The 3rd of April. It'll come out probably in the next week or so. And then I have a few like corporate things that I do. So I mentioned before, I write recipes at the moment for a health and fitness app. And I also am doing some complementary nutrition, I guess it's sort of education, just to support my personal trainer at the moment, but I have done it for other personal trainers in the past as well. So lots of things, but they're all on my terms, which is it's where I wanted my business to be when I first started it. So those collaborations. So you really enjoy, collaborating, because wellness obviously isn't just eating well. There's so many, aspects to it. So it sounds like that you work well with collaborating with other people as well. No, it's really important to me that my clients are not only eating well, that they're moving and they're also taking care of their mind as well, which is really important. I don't think a lot of people see the full picture. We all like to concentrate on one thing, but if we're doing it a bit more well-roundedly, we'll find that all three of those things will work really well together, and we will be much better off for it.
Oh, definitely that whole mental, and I'm really worried about the way we're going in at the moment with isolation and people's mental health down the track, even the next few months, how people cope, and it's like providing people with tools around that at the moment to be able to continue to cope in their environment, new environments, especially if they've never used tools like meditation before, or they've been quite resistant to it. It's about I suppose opening up and sharing these things through people like you and myself who do them already, and helps our health and sharing our story. So what about you? Is there any common myths that you find then you come across in nutrition?
Yeah, two, two. That gluten is bad and dairy or lactose is bad. For some people, it absolutely is. But they're often the go-tos when you're trying to, say, lose weight or something along those lines. They're the first thing that goes from the diet. So as we grow and age, our bodies do find it a little bit more tricky to digest lactose, because the enzyme that we have in our digestive system to digest it sort of tapers off as we age. So that's why we might find that we have a little bit of trouble actually tolerating it. But there is ways around it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a part of our diet all the time, but getting a lot of advice around that so that you can do it effectively is really important. Stripping it straight out of your diet might not be the best option to start with, particularly if your diet's pretty bland and that's where you're getting your calcium from. Calcium's part of so many different foods, and it's so easy to get it. But if your diet's pretty basic and then you strip that out, then you might be setting yourself up for some nutrient deficiencies. And it's kind of the same with gluten. If we're having digestive issues, gluten's often the thing that people go, oh, well, you should just take that out of your diet and you'll just feel so much better. But that's not necessarily the case. There are people who are celiac and they've been tested and they should take that out of their diet, absolutely 100%. But when we take gluten out and we're not completely allergic to it, we've basically taken out of almost an entire food group. We're not getting those whole grains. So things like freekeh and barley and those sorts of things, they've all got gluten in them and they're great in our diet as well. And whole grain breads, sourdough bread is great for your gut health as well. So reducing those things can help, but getting some proper advice around doing it properly and what's right for you is really important.
Completely.
They're not always the quick fix.
And I don't know, just working with a gut specialist at the moment with my daughter, it's about healing the gut as well as, it's not just taking these things out. It's like she's got these really strong natural medications she's taking at the moment to actually heal, or she's killing parasites. So she's got parasites at the moment. So just getting rid of those as well. So you really need to speak to a specialist who can guide you rather than just reading a blog or reading something and getting the advice and making the decision yourself. So
it's totally right. There can be so many underlying issues there, and it's not going to be fixed by just simply eliminating gluten from the diet.
So tell us, how can we find you? What's your social media and website so people can find you online and connect with you?
So Instagram is Nourishing Life _nutrition. That's probably where I probably put my most effort into that one, actually. And I get most interaction with people. I do have a Facebook page, and you can find the link via my Instagram page to get to the Facebook page. But my website is where you can book appointments and read about what I do, and that is nourishinglifenutrition.net.
And some amazing recipes too. I've loved your two bliss balls, the caramel ones, and what's the other one? The lemon one, because they're nut free. So I know for school lunch boxes, they're both great recipes to have, especially if your school is nut free.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the caramel one was a request from one of my Kinder mums.
So we don't have nuts at
Kinder. If there are any requests, pop them in. I'm happy to have a go.
Oh, beautiful. So you've heard that. Oh, and your chocolate brownie one. I haven't made it yet. I've got a similar recipe, but I really want to try yours because it's got the sweet potato in it. So I'm looking forward to cooking that and replacing. I can't remember. There was something different in mine. But you've got the sweet potato. I was like, and the beans, and I was like, I might try one first and then try the next and see what the kids say.
it's quite a filling one actually, but it's a good one. I just made it with my daughter yesterday actually.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's a good way to get some beans into them without them actually knowing.
Yes, and vegetables as well.
That's it, yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and all your advice.
My
And I'm
pleasure.
sure people will find it really, really useful. And we'll chat again soon.
Good to chat to you, Narelle.
Thanks, Maree.